Mizmor LeDavid, a song of David, the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. I'm Bob Rogoff. I was lucky enough to be a cousin of Beverly Gill. When I was a little boy, Nat King Cole had a hit song, which he then sang on TV in 1956, the year of my bar mitzvah. The song was Nature Boy, kind of a goofy song, but the chorus was, "The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return." That was Beverly Gill. Those fortunate enough to have this wonderful woman in our lives are warmed by the memory of her love, not affection, not a smile, but a deep love. And we loved her in return. She loved being with people, with a community. And if there wasn't that sense of community, she would make it. If she was with her family, that place was terrific. Whether in Cleveland or some exotic place like the West Side, or France or Israel, no complaints, let's go, let's eat. And she loved being with her family. She had a Jewish sense of caring for others, for the world, for people in need. She wouldn't brag about her children, but was crazy about their spouses, significant others. So in short, a long, wonderful life finished with a peaceful end, surrounded by love, on her terms, and with what she wanted, a short service. Alan.
I've been living in the bubble with my sisters, my brothers-in-law, my nephews, my family for the last 3.5 weeks here in Cleveland, watching an amazing woman orchestrate the end of her life as we only wish we can. And I want to say one thing. As somebody who grew up here and hasn't lived here since I was a child, graduating high school, every time I come here, I am in awe of this Jewish community, never more so than now. What she would have wanted you to know is how blessed she was to be part of this community, beyond the family, and to tell you in her wise way, please nourish your community, take care of this community. I want to thank you all for the sense of community that gave love and caring to our beloved mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, dear friend, at the end of her life. I asked her 2 weeks ago, before she went under, if I could recite to her Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor. And in Ma's way, she took my hand, she said, let's wait. Let's wait. So, for Bracha, Bat Rivka, Tzvi Yitzchak, Eshet Chayil. איש התחל מאמצע ורחוק מפני מכרה, בטח בלה ושלל לא יחסר. גמלתותו ולא רע כל ימי חייה. כרפפשה ליעני וידיה שילחה לאביון. נודע בשערים בעלה בשבתו עם זקני הארץ. עוז והדר לבושה ותשחק ליום אחרון. פיה פתחה בחכמה ותורת חסד על לשונה. סופי הליכות ביתה ולחם עצלות לא תאכל. כמובן נבה שרועה בעלה ויהלה. רבות בנות עושות חיל. ואת עלית כולנה, שקר החן והבל היופי, שיירת אדוני, היא תתעלל, תנו לה מפרי ידיה, והללוה בשערי מעשיה. A woman of valor. She is precious in the gifts. Children have found trust and truth in these gifts. We follow in the ways that she taught us. She is robed in strength and dignity and smiles at the future, opens her mouth with wisdom, and only the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. We benefit and we learn from her wisdom. May she always be known for the fruits of her labors and her achievements. May she live on in glory. Yehi zichrona livracha. May her memory be a blessing for eternity.
The commandments tell us to honor our mother. It was easy to do with ours. It was and it is easy to honor someone who has made such an impact on so many, especially the family she loved so dearly. Ma, as she was lovingly referred to, was front and center, always present. She made growing up easy because she was relatable and ahead of her time. Even at 91, she was current, knowledgeable about all subjects, and imparted that wisdom. You could be sitting saying nothing, and she made you think. Ma had a subtlety about her as she taught lifelong lessons of importance to her children, 12 grandchildren, and 14 great-grandchildren. She had a presence in our lives, the matriarch and the protector. She took it seriously. She used to say to my children, if a teacher upset them, tell me who did it and I will slash their tires. So the situation was diffused and ended with a good laugh. Her approval made a difference, and we all looked to her for that special nod. My mother had a way of making you feel important, that you mattered, that your thoughts and opinions were valued. Her advice and expertise were sought out. If you were wrong, she told you so, but in such a way as to make you think you thought of it yourself. Her smile and her wit was what made her so approachable. Everywhere the two of us went, someone knew her and always remarked, "You know, I love your mother." This said because she had a unique way of making everyone in her life feel special. Within a few weeks of moving into Wiggins, we would walk the halls and people were saying, "Hello, Beverly, can I talk to you?" She managed to get appointed to the board and took on the task of revamping the library. I had the pleasure to help her and enjoyed the praise she received from the residents about how wonderful and organized it was. No surprise, as she was meticulous about any task she undertook. She was also meticulous about her appearance. She always looks pristine and put together. She was just plain cool. Everything had to be ironed just so, even the pillowcases and sheets. Towards the end, while she was able, and even though she was struggling physically, I would find her ironing. She called one day in a panic. Her iron stopped working. She needed a new one, No rush, dear, but if I was going near Bed Bath & Beyond, could I pick one up that day? When she asked me to start doing her laundry, I had a terrible sense of guilt, giving back sheets and pillowcases not ironed. No problem, sweetheart. Thanks for doing them, she said. I swear to this day, I think she pulled out that iron the minute I left. My blessing was I was able to spend so much quality time with my mom, almost on a daily basis. Not just the lunches and shopping outings or trips to doctors, but our quiet time just sitting together. I will always cherish and recall many fond memories of these times with a smile. She was first my mother, then my mentor, but most importantly became my best friend. I loved my mother. Although she was a fierce energy and a flawed body, she taught me about grace and dignity. With her, an hour was more than just time. It was a good talk. It was laughter and fun. It was time well spent. So, Mom, thanks for all the hours you shared with me, for your never-ending smile, even through the worst moments. Thank you for raising me to a higher standard as I shared your journey and watched how positive and stoic you were. I was overwhelmed by you being more concerned about everyone else's well-being than your own. I will be forever grateful for your love, friendship, and you. Someone once said to me, and to her, that she and I were so close, it was like we were two entities with a shared spirit. I will miss that part of my spirit. But what matters even more than the collective mementos of wisdom she left behind is the inspirational way she celebrated and loved all people, and the way she found meaning in the gift of moments that made up each day. We will recall and rely on that for comfort, and will continue her legacy by talking about Ma to the children, grandchildren, and to the many friends and families whose lives she touched.
Wow. Well, my Bobby told me that it's okay to cry at funerals, so I may have to take him up on that. This is hard, but if this is the most difficult moment of my life, then I am blessed and I cherish the gift that we've had for 91 years of this wonderful, loving woman with a certain joie de vivre that is just infectious. I've never met anyone, as you've been hearing, who could have such an impact on people just by showing up. Everyone loved my mom. But her real secret sauce was her capacity to love back so much to so many. She had an innate ability to make every person feel unique, and that is because in her eyes they were. This was genuine and from her heart. The last chapter is clearly the freshest and immensely poignant, and I don't want to define my mom and her memory by her death, and yet how she died is so emblematic of how she lived. With grace, humor, humility, she led us through the journey. 3 years ago, when my dad died, we had our mom as our compass, and in these past months, weeks, and days, we had our mom as our needle, stitching together her family and loved ones. See, my mom was a sewer, literally and figuratively. She designed, she created, and she mended. Halloween costumes, clothes for Barbie dolls. She ran the stuffed animal and tattered blanket baby hospital, and perfected our home economics dirndl skirts and aprons, all with the help of the magic sewing machine, where each of us at one time or another sat on her lap and said abracadabra while she secretly stepped on the pedal and the needles would start moving, delighting all of us, but especially her, every single time, every single child. She created circles of people. She was the thread that made the fabric of any community she touched stronger, but above all was family and her loved ones. My mom was a worker. She almost always held a job or volunteered. She worked as an administrative assistant during the war, and when the guys came home, she was introduced to my dad, who was immediately smitten. A group trip to Geneva on the lakes with friends sealed the deal. Soon after they were married, and along came 3 children. As a young mom, she was enlisted by my great aunt Seal, may she rest in peace, to volunteer through B'nai B'rith at Belfair. She was recruited by a few clinicians into a full-time position at Western Reserve University, it was not yet Case, in the sociology department, where she spent 10 years. This was the 60s, a college campus near Huff and a liberal arts department during a radical political climate. She had colleagues arrested for being card-carrying communists, attending parties with Dr. Spock while the FBI was tracking their license plates, art that no one understood, and she absolutely loved it. She learned statistics, which eventually led to her being recruited by the World Health Organization for volunteer trips, where she supported teams with her data expertise. Through World Health, she traveled across multiple cities in the United States and to communist China. She eventually left Case and became the admissions officer for Margaret Wagner House of the Benjamin Rose Institute, where she worked for about 10 years. And then she retired, sort of. She pursued passion projects. She worked at a fabric shop, of course, and she volunteered. She took courses to teach adults to read and to teach English as a second language. She became entrenched in a small Russian community. 1 student became 2, 3, and 4. And soon my parents found themselves at weddings and birthday parties tossing back vodka and herring. She delivered Meals on Wheels and spent 15 years on and off volunteering at the Discovery Shop until my dad's last year when she stayed home to care for him full time. Ma was a natural leader. Board service included True Sisters, officer of her condo association, and chair of the design committee, of course. And I know Linda talked about the great work, and she loved it at Wiggins. Whether it was pets, family, friends, radical graduate students, newly immigrated Russians, caregivers, college roommates, neighbors, or a stray cat, turtle, or dog, our house had a huge welcome mat. She created a lovely house through her sense of design, and a home through her huge heart. My mom loved to laugh. She was curious, informed, had strong opinions but not opinionated, elegant, sharp sense of style and humor, cool and calm in any situation, and committed to social justice in the Jewish community. She's artistically talented, and she loved to travel. She ate cupcakes from the bottom up, saving the frosting for last. She reads a mean Dr. Seuss. And in support of migrant farm workers, lettuce, grapes, and raisins were temporarily banned on Bainbridge Road. She loved a good antique shop or house sale, and to the end engaged in ardent civic discourse. And she was just plain fun. I will cherish my travels and adventures with her, and it's hard to really capture her spirit, so I'm going to read an email from her words that she wrote a while back. Dear children, my number 1 child and her children just left for an overnight at an indoor water park in Sandusky, Ohio. My number 2 child is comfortably at home in Israel with his darling wife. Number 3 child is happily touring Roma with my granddaughter and grandson. No one is in Cleveland. Pa and I are alone without immediate family. Free at last, free at last. Tonight we're throwing a wild and crazy party. We're going to bring the place down. We invited all our friends who can drive at night, that's 2. Stay up past 9, that's 3. Can eat after 4:30, but before 6, of course, and no coffee after 2. No one fits that category. We're going to rip off our Velcroed strap shoes, grab our canes and walkers, and have a ball. Dress is casual, we can't see anyhow. The music will be extra loud, which won't disturb our neighbors because they can't hear either. Hum, oh what a night. XO, XO, XO. In these last weeks, my mom continued to work her design magic. Her last act of sewing was her most impressive. She brought us all together. She gathered her family, building our quilt for a future without her. She made sure she stitched a thread through us, pulled on it tightly, and didn't tie that last knot and let go until she felt it was secure. Family and love always. We are so grateful to you for your outpouring of love and condolences, and we thank you. And to my precious, precious family, keep on sewing. Amen.
Well, Ma, Beverly Gill, the person who had the single greatest influence on who I am today. Where to start? October 1981 seems as good a place as any other. It was a Saturday night, a rare one that my dad had off, so Ma and Pa were babysitting. I loved it when Ma and Pa babysat. Danny was 6, Andrew was 3, and I was 9. We had dinner, and Pa didn't eat his greens. We made shrinky dinks back when nobody knew it was bad to put styrofoam trays in the toaster oven. Ma put Andrew to bed, while Pa watched us. He watched Danny and me. Ma came downstairs and called us to the couch with a pile of books. Danny and I would alternate picking poems from Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends, Danny being particularly fond of the poem about the pirate picking his nose with a hook. After a little bit, Danny would fall asleep nuzzled against Ma's side, and Pa would lean over, gently scoop him up and carry him off to bed. Ma held her shush finger to her lips, but never stopped reading. Ma never really missed a beat. It was clearly past my bedtime, but we had a deal. She would read Dr. Seuss books. If I ran the zoo, there's a Wocket in my pocket, and I would run up to bed as soon as we heard the garage door, which always seemed to happen, at least in my mind's memory, as we were finishing green eggs and ham. Right at the end, Ma would whisper to me, "Time to go up, rest. I love you, baby doll. Mwah, mwah." Later, when Ma and Pa were babysitting for Paige, I was always wondering if Paige was running up to bed as we were walking in. And I always hoped so. Ma was our guide, our teacher. And for the record, all of the Dannys and me's, the Dannys and I, were correct, just as I was saying that now. She was fond of making sure we knew the difference. There was a lesson in everything: dignity, respect, and above all else, family. Spitting water through missing tooth holes, slurping spaghetti, to believe in magic through sewing machines and growing rocks. The fun of ducking every time Pa drove under a bridge on a way to a museum, dinosaurs and the big tooth. And we learned the proper thing to say when a mother was showing off an ugly baby. Now that's a baby. Ma loved to tell me the story of when I first learned how to dial a phone. Ma was such a great storyteller. Her phone would ring, "Ma, she's killing me." And Ma would respond, "Do you want me to come over and yell at her?" "No." "Do you want me to come over and punish her?" "No." And therein lied the first lesson. I will listen, but how are you going to deal with this? Sure, I'll offer to slash your teacher's tires, but what are you going to do? There was personal responsibility. Ma had a way of making everyone she knows feel like they were the most special person in the world. Each of her children, each of her grandchildren, and each of her great-grandchildren. Ma correctly determined that each of her great-grandchildren was brilliant. Because when she said, "Ka-boom," each one of them, each of her grandbabies knew to touch their forehead to hers. They were brilliant. Well, yeah. She taught us that it was not only okay, but good to dance when no one else could hear the music. I remember standing in the kitchen. Bum, bum, da-da-da-da, bum, bum, da-da-da-da. And we would just dance. The lessons never ended. Just 2 weeks ago, sitting on her couch, she corrected me when I said the goal, the hope of every parent is that their kids have a better life? No. She patted my leg and just so ever slightly shook her head. The goal of every parent is to make their child a better person. That's a high bar you set, Ma. She told me when I was a young boy that whenever anybody asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, the answer was a philanthropist. I know my time is running short to talk, but Ma said I have until I hear the garage door. And I have the most important story that Ma ever told me, and I'm not quite sure she's ever shared it with anybody else. It was the summer of 1986. I was 14. Ma took me to lunch at McDonald's on Mayfield. I wanted to sit outside, but Ma picked a table inside by the window. And then she started telling me about her heart procedure. Things went wrong, and Ma had died. And while the doctors were opening her up, Ma felt herself enveloped in bright warmth. Her dad, Grandpa Harry, and her brother were there, telling her, "Bev, it's not your time." As the light receded, Ma floated over her body for a bit, and later in recovery, Ma recognized a nurse and told her that she was in the surgery. The nurse nodded curiously at Ma and said to her, "I have to ask you a question. What did you drop in the back of the room?" The nurse looked at Ma puzzled. "How could you know that? You were unconscious and it was behind you." "I saw," Ma responded. Ma would never talk to me about that again, but death was always just part of the process. Sunday, Ma was back in the warm glow. This time, Pa was there. Beverly, it's time to go." "Hold on, Sanford. I'm coming. Hold on." "They are so good you see. So I will eat them in a box, and I will eat them with a fox. And I will eat them in a house, and I will eat them with a mouse. I will eat them here and there, say, I will eat them anywhere. I do so like green eggs and ham. Thank you, Sam I am. Thank you, Ma. Time to go up, rest. I love you, baby doll. Mwah, mwah."
In our family, it's tradition that when you set a date for lunch or breakfast, at the last second others show up. So my sister, who could not make it with us, she's in Israel and almost about to give birth, asked us to read something from her. Hadara. "Ma, you are my person. You always made me feel special and closer than anyone in the world. People surely will speak of your style, grace, wisdom, and heart, all of which made you a legend beyond your time. While this is true, for me, you will always be my person, and I yours. I turn to you for advice on everything between laundry, career, motherhood, and relationships. You were always right on everything, even when I was convinced otherwise. Never did you push your ways, your truth, or your suggestions, but you found a way to empower me to be greater than I saw in myself. I admire you for so many reasons. I promise it will be passed down through my children. My daughter, expected next month, will carry your name and much more of you. More than all, I will miss what we shared, a connection of love, respect, openness, and friendship. I will miss you, Ma, my person, my grandmother, and my best friend. And don't worry, you look great." אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים. המצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה. במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר רקיע מזהירים. את נשמת ברכה, בת צבי יצחק ורבקה, שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתיריה, בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה. ותנוח בשלום המשכבה, ונאמר אמן.
God, full of mercy, who dwells above, give rest on the wings of the divine presence, amongst the holy, pure, and glorious, who shine like the sky to the soul of Bracha, daughter of Tzvi Yitzchak and Rivka, for whom prayer was offered in the memory of her soul. Therefore, the merciful one will protect her soul forever, and will merge her soul with eternal life. The everlasting is her heritage, and she shall rest peacefully at her lying place. And let us say, Amen.
In Pa and Ma, they both taught us to learn and to love music and musicals. So in Hamilton, it says, legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden that you never get to see. Pa and Ma, they were both lucky to leave the legacy that they got to enjoy and see and help to grow. A legacy of leadership, moral fortitude, and family. As my aunt mentioned, just last year I called my grandmother from the Great Wall of China. And I said, I cannot be amazed that 30 years ago you were here just as this country was starting to open up, and you were selected without a college degree to be a representative of your country to help them live a healthier life. Who gets to do that? In moral fortitude, in this age of rationalization, where we explain things to death and we explain things that we cannot deal with. Sometimes it was great and sobering that you could come to Ma and she would just be very simply say, there's a right and wrong, and that is wrong. But more than anything else, it was family. And she taught us, as everyone said, to imagine and to aspire. That if we plant a rock in her garden, the next time we come and visit, it will grow and it will be bigger. And all that is needed for that to happen, for that magic to happen, is love and tender care. We are the rock growers. That is your legacy. And how amazing it is that Paige and Rowan and Tyler and Haley and Maya and Eva and Mia and Emma, the list goes on, and Daniel Shlomo, and Ofri, and Nadav, and Matan, and my sister's 2 children, and soon to be third, Eitan and Shaked, got to kibitz with you, dance with you, laugh with you, sing with you, hug with you, learn from you, have you read to them, and get your kisses. So I think more than anything else, it's just to say thank you. We are the rock growers, and we commit to live on. Thank you.
Before the announcements, I want to just recite a small late fragment. Raymond Carver, the poet and writer, his last work was this short statement. It starts with a question. And did you get what you wanted from this life? Even so. Even so reflects on the fact that in a long life there's going to be disappointment, but still the possibility for joy. And the question is, and did you get what you wanted from this life even so? I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved, to feel myself beloved on the earth. Funeral will be at graveside service at Mount of Olives Cemetery immediately following, and Shiva will be at Linda Spitz and Jeffrey Spitz' home in Orange Village, and it's going to be till 8 p.m. Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 1 till 8 p.m. tonight. Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., and Thursday, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Those of you that wish to contribute may contribute to the Jewish Community Federation of Cleveland or the Cleveland Clinic Hospice or live special care of NCJW/Cleveland chapter. And we're finished. We'll be meeting at the cemetery.